What's good, superstars? Back with another VV video. You got Superstar Joe. You got Superstar Sleepyn Comics. I gotta change your name. It's part of the way of passage. So Superstar Sleepyn Comics in the building. How's it going, Sleepyn?
Wait. I don't know how to do it. I'm not good.
You had to get your bearings, but I got a couple of shots in there early, I feel like. But his punches is just lands one punch, and I'm really feeling it now. So hopefully I can still get through the video. But guys, if you are new here, do not forget, hit the subscribe button down below, become a superstar, hit that bell notification so you know whenever we post crazy collabs like this with legendary people from the community like Sleepyn Comics himself. You all know him, but I'm obviously going to give him an introduction in just a second. Also, you can become a Superstar VIP if you hit that join button underneath the video. You get nice badges next to your name. You get entered into our Disney mini brands giveaways. We're naming a star after somebody at the end of the month. We got spreadsheets that let you know if it makes sense to go for a drop based off your price predictions. If you want to sweep the floor, it lets you know how much to sweep of the floor. Like, it's crazy. We got so many things going on in the membership. So for $2.99 a month, I think we give you guys a lot. We also can advertise for you, and we also show you guys what we're buying and selling. I bought a couple things today. If you're in the VIP, you will have known about that, and you know what I bought. Also, we got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can follow us there. Our VV profile is on Twitter in the bio if you want to follow us on VV. And shout out to all of the VIPs. I still got to update the list, but guys, thank you very much for all that you do for us. So guys, if you aren't familiar with the legend that is sitting right there, you guys have to check him out on YouTube, Sleepyn Comics. He's been on my on my subscriptions list since before we started YouTube. It's been awesome to watch all of your stuff. And not only that, he also has a website called VV Rank that we use all the time. It's for any time there's a comic drop. He's up to date. He's always there before the drop comes out. He's very well versed in the comic IRL world, and we always look to you for what we should do on the drop. I mean, we don't take it as financial advice, but you always give us a little bit more information than we had before we got into it. So why don't you explain your channel, explain your website, and let the people know how they can find you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. I've been collecting real comics for a long time. And then about a year ago, I discovered VV like a lot of us, and was really interested in it. Obviously, it's kind of taken over. And then I switched my channel over, and it just went all in. And it's been really, really interesting. I've learned with all you, and my only thing is I do know something about some of these, comics that came out many years ago in some cases. And so that gives me a little bit of advantage from that perspective, but I'm learning like everybody else. And then I developed the website VV Rank really because I had I just was trying to collect mints, and it's more of like an exploratory thing for me, but it definitely does show the comic tier list that you see there is my thought process on where I would rank these comics, if you would want to call it that way. Everybody was constantly asking me. The website went live, I think, around maybe November, December, somewhere in there. I can't quite remember. And really people wanted to know. And so I had a spreadsheet for a while, but that really wasn't enough. And so I created this website. The comics are up to date. Some of the collectibles are not, but I'm glad people like it and find it useful. So and I do get a lot of questions on it. And if I've never missed a drop, which, knock on wood, right? But sometimes I'm late. Maybe I only get the information up maybe 6 or 8 hours before the drop. But I get this avalanche of people who DM me. So I got to get it up there.
Yeah, they keep you accountable. I mean, the great thing about this community is we have people like yourself. We have Comics and Crypto. Everybody who brings their own. I think even Boodle NFT is another one who brings their own ranking systems. So if you like a comic more than Sleepyn does, maybe you're more in line with someone else. But I find that there's comics that we look at with first appearances that Veve announces, and sometimes they're like, oh, maybe I don't like this one too much. Then we look at your list and you'll see that, oh, maybe it has some more real world value than we thought. Then we can cross-reference with all of these other platforms. So we're really lucky that way, and that we have that community of different IRL collectors. And we're going to get into that because I want to pick your brain about IRL versus the NFT. Obviously, I'm sure you get that question a lot, but no, that's awesome. We also see the comic that's coming up tomorrow here. So I think that's the first thing I wanted to talk about on the agenda anyways. So yesterday we had Marvelous Packs on. He did a little clip for us, and he talked about how maybe not the most expensive comic in real life, but he really liked the Scotty Young cover. So what are your thoughts on this book? Maybe I didn't even look at your website yet because I knew you were coming on. So I wanted to hear it from you. And then maybe I can make a decision on based off of the information I already know and off of what you tell me here.
Well, unfortunately, this one, so it's Ghost Rider. There's been multiple Ghost Riders. Obviously, we have, the first Ghost Rider, and we actually have another Ghost Rider, which is Cosmic Ghost Rider, which would be Thanos 13. So this would be the third Ghost Rider we actually have on the app, which is really interesting to me. Are they trying to tell us something there, right? Yeah. And so this one is, let me jump to it quick so I want to look at I can't remember quite the mint numbers. Let me jump to it quick. I have to look at it myself, right? So, so basically Robbie Reyes is a different Ghost Rider. He has a car opposed to, motorcycle, stuff like that. If you ever watch the TV show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he's in it as Ghost Rider, and he's really awesome. I think he's the best rendition of Ghost Rider that we've ever seen. And so I think he's in like half a season. He's really cool. So Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not considered canon for the MCU. I'm getting a little detailed here, but people believe that the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could be brought into the MCU and they could make that canon. And that could happen as early as the Secret Invasion MCU show, which is coming, I believe, next year. We saw a trailer for it at D23 just this past weekend. So we don't know. All of the cast has been asked repeatedly if they're going to be in the MCU, and they, of course, deny it again and again and again. But if we see them, I do think there's a chance that they would bring back Robbie Reyes, the Ghost Rider. And so this potentially book could go up in value. In terms of Veve, it's one that you can't even say you want to go for the drop necessarily. I do think it's one that we've seen, even though it has 20,000 mints, the first two, the common and uncommon, are probably going to fall under retail. And so if you just go by the numbers, the chances of you potentially losing money on this are pretty high. But as I always say, if you're looking to the future and you're looking at different fandoms, people that like Ghost Rider and want to collect all the different variations of Ghost Rider, I see that as a big possibility. So they would want to get Thanos 13. They'd want to get this one, all new Ghost Rider #1. They'd want to get his first appearance as Johnny Blaze. And there's a couple other ones. There's actually a woman Ghost Rider and other ones too. I can't remember that comic. I have it actually, but I can't remember which one that is. But so big Ghost Rider fans are going to want to do that. And that whole mythology around Ghost Rider, I think they're going to bring to the MCU. And so maybe you do want to take a chance, or maybe you want to wait and grab a couple of them, in the secondary. That'd be something as someone choose. For me, I'll probably grab at a minimum, I'll probably grab the common and uncommon because they'll probably be pretty cheap. And then it will be the great debate whether or not I want to grab the SR. I probably will, just because I'm a sucker.
Oh, that's a great explanation. Now
I will show you one other thing.
Yeah, let's see it.
So this is the same comic by the same, and this one is the 1 in 50. So in other words, when this came out, that a store would have to order 50 of the regular or the commons to get one of these. And since most stores wouldn't probably sell 50, most stores did not order. So this is an unbelievably rare comic and a cool one.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I really like that cover. I'm surprised that one's not one of the variations here, but
I would think, but I think that speaks to kind of the precedent that has been set, that they are now using the secret rare as some sort of interior panel. And then the ultra rare and rare, they're finding another artist to make something new.
Yeah. So I know that yesterday when Marvelous Packs talked about it, he was really hyped about the Scotty Young. Do you buy into that hype of Scotty Young being maybe a little bit more of a sought after artist on the app? Or do you think that when the real comic book collectors do get to the app, he'll just fit in with everybody else? Because there are a lot of popular artists on the app, right?
I do buy into it. So I know, in fact, I know one guy in particular who loves him and collects everything. both physical and on the app. And so you are going to have, it's just everything. Like you have these Ghost Rider fans. They don't care about X-Men. They just care about Ghost Rider. They're going to collect them all. Yeah. There'll be people who are like, oh, I love Peach Momoko. And I know a lot. I am a Peach Momoko fan to a certain degree. I've got some of her comics, and I sent the comic off to Japan to get signed by her. Cool. I didn't get that one out. But there are people that love Scotty Young and each of these. Trad Moore. I actually really like this artist, Trad Moore. He did Silver Surfer Black. We've seen that on the comic. So that is going to be a thing in terms of people, you know, Alex Ross, you know, there's all these different Clayton Crane, there's all these different, as we know, Todd, right? There are going to be people that just collect those covers, and we're starting to see it. And you yourself probably have things that you like and you don't like. And then it'll start to build. And then you'll be like, gosh, I really like this style of comic. And then you're going to get that itch to like, you know what? I'm just going to collect all of that artist. You don't even necessarily need to get all of the secret rares, because maybe the secret rare, well, in this case, if you like Trad Moore, the secret rare actually is Trad Moore.
Oh,
but so he has two of the covers, right? He has the common and he has the secret rare. But then you're like, oh, I like Trad Moore. So now I want to get the Silver Surfer Black #1. See how it's so. And I know that we just don't have enough users yet, but if you just walk it forward a little bit, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that way of thinking. I also like that you spoke about the MCU and how you know about the shows, and even in your description here, seen an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show. So you're not just a one shop or one trick pony. You watch the TV shows as well as collect the comics. Like you're into Marvel. Yeah.
I need help. I need some sort of intervention here.
So that's good to know. So anybody who comes to your website, they understand that you also are watching the current stuff. And we've mentioned that before. We've seen that you kind of take that into account when you rank it based off of if it's current, if it's in the MCU, like that type of thing. We've noticed you've made commentary.
Well, there's really two reasons, because, okay. So if you're collecting what you like, just collect what you're like. It doesn't matter. Just buy what you want. You know what I mean? Put it on your wall. That's what I always say. Yeah. But if you're looking at it from investment, which I know you guys, your channel is kind of more focused on, and literally almost, I would say 90% of the people in the app are more focused at it from an investment perspective. It's I want to buy low and sell high. Well, how does that happen? It happens because something that people think is relatively useless or becomes something that's valuable. And so the example and this is an extreme example, but nobody knew who Tony Stark and Iron Man was 10 or 25 years ago, or 10 or 15 years ago. Okay. Nobody. Like, I bet you 90% of the earth, more than 90% of the earth did not. Now, 90% of the earth probably does know who Tony Stark. So that's an extreme scenario. But as you can see, that's why people are like, why do you care about the MCU? And why do you care about Disney Plus? Because this is when the character is introduced to the world. They may not love it right away. In fact, like Thor 1 didn't do all that well. But over time, as people watch the character and become attracted to the character, now Thor is a huge character. Everybody loves Thor. And who wouldn't want a Journey into Mystery 83? We don't have that on the app, but it's a very valuable comic. And so that's why I always say, pay attention to what's going on, because we've seen this character, Robbie Reyes, already one time on TV. And if you ask anybody who watched that show, he's one of the best parts of the show. Yeah. So then you walk it forward. We can see him again. Maybe we can see him again. He's interacting with a lot of the other Ghost Riders. He's really cool. He's got a cool car. See how it kind of like builds it forward. And then before you know it, there are people who are like, I think I want to collect this guy's comic. And there you go. And now are there 20,000 of them? That's where you want to go.
They come out with some movies and then they're centered around it, and then you get some fans just because they want to watch everything Marvel. I could see how it built. So that's really cool. So these are like some speculative plays.
These are speculative plays that any of these first appearances are speculative plays. And then and like I said in my notes, I try to talk briefly about that. There is so much speculation that Ghost Rider, probably Johnny Blaze, the version of him, is coming to Disney Plus or some movies. It's just so overwhelming that I think it's going to happen. But before Johnny Blaze, they apparently had signed the actor who played Robbie Reyes to a Hulu deal. Oh, wow. before Disney bought everything. So it was imminent that they were going to do a Ghost Rider show with Robbie Reyes. So do they still have those scripts? Do they throw them all out? Who knows? But it was imminent. That's how I was saying.
No, yeah. So we're learning a lot, definitely, about this comic that's coming out. And you mentioned that you are going to probably go into it in the secondary market. Now, I wanted to ask you this question. You have your tier list here. Any strategy that you have behind the tier list? Like, will you only buy up to level C? Do you buy D's on your list? Like, is there certain things that you would stay away from that you like won't even buy, or do you buy everything because you're a comic guy?
I try to buy one of just because a lot of them are really cheap. So I've attempted to buy one of everything, but I don't have ASM 252, which is the super rare Spider-Man one, and I don't have ASM 130, which is the spider buggy one that I think nobody was really sure, but they think there's only about 1,000, maybe 1,200 of them out there. It's just too expensive, and I don't think it's not that interesting of a comic. What I tell people is, if you're looking at it from an investment perspective, obviously, look within your budget, not financial advice, all the other nonsense, but you probably can't go wrong with the tier S and tier A's. And when you get into the tier B's, you just want to look at the FAs and how you think they're going to perform over time. And tier C and tier D are really probably not going to do much, but the mint numbers are so low in comparison to the potential for users in Veve that it is still intriguing. So if you're looking to double your money, that's what I look at a lot. I know a lot of people want to times 10 their money. I'm always looking at it to double my money. And so, I'm buying this comic, NYX3, which is the first appearance of Wolverine's daughter. She's already been in a movie. In the comics, she's on the new X-Men team. Her name is X-23. So that's NYX3. We have that comic. You can get them for dirt cheap. I mean, dirt cheap. Maybe you take a shot at 2. That's my take on it. And it's not hard to double from $4 to $8.
Yeah.
In my mind, right?
So
it's hard. It's harder. Some of these other ones are hard. You got to go from, 5K to 10K. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but that's my thought process around it.
Yeah. So your S's and your A's kind of long-term holds that you think once we get more mass adoption, that'll be the stuff that people want to get into. But at the same time, these other ranks might have a little bit less additions than the 60,000 for some of these prominent ones. And when you do get that mass adoption, to move that number from $2 to $4 might be a little bit easier. So I know there's a lot of people watching that do that same strategy and have mentioned it before. So really cool to hear from you. The other thing I want to talk to you about now, we're going to shift a little bit from the comics, but I want to talk about this Mickey Mouse drop, because I know that you are into the collectibles as well. I know that you own the lowest mint of the Silver Surfer, which is pretty cool. So I saw that all play out. So congratulations on that one.
Thanks.
I'll get into that. But what do you think of this drop? I guess how it came to be with the Disney, the D, and the utility that came to that lamp. Did you land the lamp? And how do you feel about how the utility was distributed?
So I was lucky enough to get the lamp. And so then I got the D, and obviously I'll get the promo code and all this stuff. I mean, I get why people were unhappy with it, because, they're completely accurate when they say it is not, rewarding anybody who had been collecting these things for months and months and months. So I understand that completely. And I do understand that people, I'm not sure of it, but people say there's still bots and other things running around. So it's potential that maybe you're even rewarding those people, which is terrible, right? So I get all that. That totally makes sense to me. I also have heard Alex, when he was speaking in one of the spaces, said that a lot of this utility and whatnot was kind of made up from Disney. So I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but that's also possible. So maybe Veve themselves wanted to do something different, but Disney wanted to do something different. And obviously Disney's the big, the big whale. So you're going to do whatever they want. Right. But I just think it's interesting from like 2 perspectives. Number one, it is a sophisticated thing that they're doing. It's like, you got to do this, and then you get this, but then you get the airdrop, and then you get the promo. I know people don't think it's that sophisticated, but you got to write new code. You got to, there's different things that they have to do to make it happen. And anytime they show sophistication like that, I think that's great. And from what we know, there's been no issue with the algorithms or anything. Like that's all gone on. It's not done yet. The promo codes still have to work, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So that just shows us they can do sophisticated things going forward. So that's my one thing. The second thing I said is it a new type of like blueprint of how would you sell out drops in a bear market? And I did tweet this. Yeah. So you get you add value to the initial drop and you give a promo code for the second drop. So could it possibly lead to them selling out 2 drops at full price? They're large mint sizes for what we have seen recently with the amount of users that we think we have, active users, I should say, on the app that are buying. So this, whatever you want to call it, promo, I think it'd be the correct term, seems to have caught the interest of everybody, and I think so. Now, it probably doesn't work if you do it with IP that isn't as popular as Disney. Yeah. And, everything could go wrong. If the D didn't look good, it maybe doesn't work. If the lamp doesn't, so there's all these elements that have to, if you have bad stuff, it's not going to fly. But I think in looking at the D and looking at the lamp and looking at Mickey, they're literally 3 of the most gorgeous NFTs we've seen yet.
Yeah. No, so that I agree with everything you said there. I think it's like you mentioned about how they're doing some new technology or new coding or whatever to program it. It just shows that they're willing to try something else, which I think is bullish. The other thing is this might be rewarding flippers or people who land on the drop, but then the next one they might do something where they don't tell you you're getting an airdrop, and like they can always change it up, and they've done that. Like every airdrop's been a little bit different in its own way. I know the blue and beta, it was initially one thing, and then I guess they didn't get the turnout they expected, so they decided, you know what, let's increase what people are getting depending on if they hold it or not. So I thought that was unique as well. But this one here, the promo code, it's a cool thing. I'm curious to see how it works. This morning I tweeted something saying like, I know that everybody's not going to have the gems or the money to be able to go into the Mickey. Some people might not even want it. So if they don't go for it, I thought that there might be a 7-day rebound because like at the 7 days opens up the buy now again. And I thought that would have been kind of a cool thing to do, like, because there will be people who would want to buy it. But instead they updated the Medium article today, and they mentioned that this second wish, whoever doesn't do it, it's going to burn. So it says any unredeemed collectibles from this allotment will be burned. So after 7 days, they cut it and they shrink the supply of the Mickeys that are in existence. So
let me understand this properly. There's 16,000 total, right?
Yeah.
10,000 are allocated for the promo code. For example, I'm going to get a promo code because I got the lamp. If I don't buy, they're burning mine. Yeah. And when it drops, only 6,000 are going to be available.
Yeah. Yeah. So whatever above the 10,000, that's coming on Friday. And then after that, there's 7 days where you and whoever else landed that lamp just got to go put the promo code.
6,000 mint of this particular one sell out, do you think? I think it will.
Yeah, I think so. I think that there's a lot of people.
What's the price point on it?
It's 60 gems. So I think the 6,000.
So it's not like 120 like the green ship. No. That one was a little aggressive.
I think that might have been planned a little earlier on, and they just had to get it out the way, it sounded like. But the other thing, we talked about the utility for this and how it's going to those that landed the drop, and people are a little bit upset. I've heard Alex say it a couple times this week. That long-term utility that people want for holders that they're all worried about, that's coming when we get the MCP. So MCP is going to come, and it's going to reward everybody who's been holding, and those new people to the app are going to be at an extreme disadvantage in those types of situations, right? So this might be something that is to reward new people, kind of bring in those new users. Fantasia Mickey, popular IP, like you mentioned. So if someone comes in like, oh, I want to buy that Mickey, or I like that lamp, they hit the lamp drop, and now they get something else. And it's just something that makes new users feel good about the app. You know what I mean?
It's so interesting to me because I'm such a, maybe old school collector. I don't know. But like, I have a bunch of comics. I don't get anything for that. Other than that, it's cool. Like I have a bunch of these statues. Sure. I don't get anything for that. So that whole deal is so foreign to me. Like I love it. I'm not going to say, if you can give me free stuff, I'm not going to say no. Right. But it is an interesting, weird thing. once again, I think of it like, I collect stuff that I like. I like Venom, so I have a Venom statue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also want to spec on comics that I think are going to go up. So then you see some of my, I've done videos, and we just talked about one, the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider. Why would it go up? Maybe it won't go, right? But then on top of that, this layer of MCP, and this is why I am so bullish about NFTs, Veve especially, is that it's just like additional layer. And we always talk about, are the physical comic book guys going to come? I don't know, right? We don't know. Probably, maybe never. Whatever. I don't really, they're going to do what they're going to do, right? But that layer is something that they're smart guys. They're going to see that layer and it's going to be intriguing to them, I think.
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet, but I think that when you look at it from a year ago, there were so many quote unquote red flags that maybe this is a rug pull. They're not all gone, but a lot of them are, payout was a big one. But there's two ones that I think are really important that have been addressed other than payout, which is huge. Don't get me wrong. That is a massive one. Is number one is, what is Marvel's commitment to this? Were they going to do 4 comics and then they're like, they're done? They're like, yeah, that was a stupid. No, apparently Marvel's in, and they are, as we know, trying to map it out so that these comics are dropping when they have Disney shows or movies. I mean, this is integrated into their marketing strategy going forward. That's number one. Number two, we can project that they've made money off of this. I mean, we know that, they get the 8%. We can do the numbers, right?
Yeah.
And number three, it seems like even after a year now, it's actually only accelerating. Like, so that kind of whole thing of, is this gonna go on for further? I think a lot of those questions are going to be answered. Now, of course, since it hasn't gone on for 80 years, then people are going, I don't know. But once we've already got past year 1, then we're going to get past year 2. Then we're going to get, at what point in time do you this is a thing now?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And that's, you started to touch on a couple of the questions I got for you right now. Now that we've kind of gone through the things I wanted to talk about from the day, let's just get into these questions pretty quickly. And I don't think some of these have ever been asked to you. Maybe they have, maybe I haven't seen those videos. But my first question is, why Sleepyn Comics? Where's the name come from? Is there any significance to that?
Okay, so the significance is, when I was younger, I used to be a swimmer. So we would swim, like, it was ridiculous. We'd swim like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours at night. And then anytime I would do stuff, sometimes with my friends and stuff, I'd be so exhausted, I'd fall asleep. So that was kind of, a marginal thing that would happen. And then later when I started playing more video games, you have to pick a name. So then I picked Sleepyn because I fell asleep. I was like, oh, this will be funny, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got. So then when I decided to pick the name, and literally every video game I play, I put my name in Sleepyn over the years. And then once I started my YouTube channel, I was like, oh, I could pick Sleepyn Comics, and it's this kind of dual thing where it's it's actually from my video game name, but it's actually talking about comics that are Sleepyn that potentially could be great. So I thought it was a good marriage of the name, and then I have it. So there you go. And I'm also so used to, because when I used to play video games, people would call me, obviously Sleepyn. So I'm just so used to that now that it just made sense.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I like hearing these types of stories. I guess that kind of leads into the next question: is how did you find Veve? I know you were doing YouTube on comics before you did Veve content. How did you find it? Is it because of the Marvel drops that came? And when did you come in? That's what people
I came in around October, September last year, somewhere in there. And it was because I saw some press releases on Marvel doing NFTs. I didn't know much about them, obviously, like a lot of people.
Yeah.
I knew the term, and I think NBA Top Shots was the big one that was going crazy at that point. And I had done a lot of, I was really interested in blockchain years and years ago, especially Bitcoin. So I mined it. I had these servers down here, and I was mining Bitcoin and all this other stuff. This is years ago. and you know, my family was making fun of me, whatever. And so I was familiar with Ethereum, blockchain, all these technologies. And so it wasn't such a big jump as it is. And I'm also, in my job, I'm a, you know, IT developer tech guy. So it wasn't that big a jump for me, even though I'm collecting physical comics. It was of interest to me. And that's how, and then I found Veve, and it kind of was this marriage of, you know, blockchain, NFTs, plus comics, plus Marvel comics. Oh my God, this is like the best ever.
Yeah. So that's awesome. Then the ranking system you came out with, was that because you noticed that maybe there wasn't too much of that in the community, or did you think that there was kind of false narratives in the space?
No, I thought there was two channels that existed that were doing these types of ranking, not necessarily rankings, but giving you know, giving some advice on it. And that was Comics and Crypto and The Comic Way. And they both have channels. They're very successful. But I just, you know, it doesn't matter. I mean, you could do 50 in the comic world. Everybody does a list. Like there's like 95 channels that do everybody, because it's just different people's opinions. It's kind of fun. So, and people were asking me. And so then I wanted to give my input on it. And so I created this spreadsheet, like I said, and you could I shared it. Like it was a link in my every video. You could go down and click.
I remember that. I was clicking on that.
I went in there one time and there was literally like 500 people looking at that spreadsheet. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I didn't realize this many people even cared, whatever. And so, but it's very limited and there's other issues. And I wanted to do more mathematics around it and all this other nonsense. So then I created the website, and, you know, kind of the rest is history. And, you know, I just did it differently. The tier list, tier S, A, B, C, that's like what everybody does, that tier list. That's not like anything new. And some of the other people were doing kind of like, you know, how Comic Cube does the hold them or sell them type. So I just didn't want to copy them. So I wanted to try and do something a little bit different. So that's why.
Oh, cool. And like I said, we use that all the time, and you guys should just go to it just to learn something about a comic. Maybe you've never heard about a book.
You know what's crazy is there's people who do, like, they've shown me they do they have like spreadsheets based off of those tiers, because then they take the tier and then they do some sort of analysis on I'm like, this is like crazy.
They give it a weight.
I didn't even meet, you know, this is, I get a little worried about these tiers.
Yeah.
The tiers are, I used to literally, people are like, how much research do you do? And I'm like, I literally do none. Like I just think for 10 seconds and then give it the tier. Now I think for 30 seconds, not 10 seconds, but now I know it's a big thing. Like people constantly, you know, bad it's, and they want me to change the tiers. You
had the comic thought, like you knew the comic world before Veve, so you knew where these books kind of sat in that world.
Very rare that, well, I mean, there are some comics, but most of the comics, like this one, I could, as soon as I saw the cover, I know what it is. And I'm like, that's a tier C comic. Like I literally knew within, because I own this comic. I had 4 of these comics. I sold them all. Because I bought them really low and sold them on eBay high, right? Like, you know, when they came on the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's, you know, I still kept this one because it's such a very rare version of it. But so, yeah, most of the comics, like ASM 300, you know, X-Men 26, you know, I am like, I can
You're on top of it. Right? So that's what we really appreciate about you. Now, I know you're big into comics. I also know, like we mentioned earlier, you have that low mint Silver Surfer. Now, is that just a personal preference that you went into that collectible? How do you value collectibles compared to the comics on the app? Now I know comics have real world counterparts. Some of the collectibles do as well. How do you see the comics versus collectibles playing out short term and long term? And what is your preference short term and long term? Like I know you're a comic guy, but maybe you prefer some of these collectibles over some of the comics.
I mean, there's definitely an argument to be said that you wonder if they could be worth more. Now, the reason why I say that is they're scarcer. I mean, think about, you know, once again, I don't know. We'll use Silver Surfer. Well, I guess Fantastic 448 is Silver Surfer's first print. We don't have that one yet, but let's just pretend they do 20,000 of them. Well, Silver Surfer, there's only 6,000 of them, the actual collectible. But and it's a new medium. These other ones are like a copy of an old medium. You know what I mean? So there's some things to be said that the collectibles could be worth more. I don't know. I find them extremely intriguing. There's so many things about it that are intriguing that we don't quite understand. You know, are they going to be in games? How are they going to be used in the metaverse? Are they going to continue to advance the technology of how they're built? Because
Yeah.
Give them more animation or whatever, more polygons or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And the collectability. So collectability is this intersection of scarcity and kind of manic fandom. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
If you don't have one or the other,
Demand. Yeah.
right. If everybody can have a Darth Vader, I mean, he's popular, right? But
yeah.
So I just think that these are super collectible. Most of them are, huge IPs, Darth Vader, R2D2, whatever, and they're scarce, especially when you compare it to the amount of people that like Darth Vader or Silver. Well, maybe not Silver Surfer would be a bad example, but there are a lot of people who like Silver Surfer. For me, that buy is an example of now, do I think that one is actually going to be worth quite a bit of money? I do. I actually think the Silver Surfer 41 is going to be worth quite a bit of money. But that's just I don't care. I'm going to collect it. It's like this. It's like that Venom statue. That Venom statue, I think it was $800 or something like that. I have no idea if it's ever going to be worth. I'll probably never get my money back on that. It's just cool. It's a cool statue.
Yeah, it's something you like. So the collectibles might be more so something you like with some spec play.
I mean, I have a lot of collectibles. Okay, so I have done quite a bit of not research, but I am betting on MCP. I believe MCP is going to be worthwhile. I believe that the points, and I've talked about this, and I actually did a video about this a long time. I'll do another video once we know more. That I believe the MCP, and we can talk about this. I'll let you ask your next question, but so that's a lot of the collectibles I have is because I believe it. So in other words, everybody laughs about the Kryptons. I have a Krypton set, so, maybe it'll be worthless, but I have a Krypton set, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got you. So it's good to know that. I don't know if a lot of people know that you are into some collectibles. I knew that. You had some.
I have about 35 sets and about maybe 250 collectibles. Which isn't like insane, but isn't small. No. I think it's about that. Don't quote me on some of those numbers.
It's a good amount, and I think maybe people wouldn't expect that from Sleepyn Comics. The comic.
I do have a lot more comics.
Yeah, but they're a little bit more affordable sometimes. But okay, you're pushing me into my next question, which is strategy. Like there's been some strategies that I've tried to employ where I look at the common comic covers and I try to get as low a mint as I can in those covers, just because I feel when some people come to the app and they actually recognize some of these bigger name books like MC1 or Fantastic 4-1, having a lower number, I think there will be that crowd of people that will want that, and they'll want the common cover. The secret rares, I think also obviously there's going to be people who want that because of the scarcity. Do you have any type of strategy when it comes to collecting on this app? You just mentioned MCP. I guess in terms of secret rares or like low mint commons, or do you have any type of strategy when it comes to what you decide to do? I know you went in pretty big on that. Was it Kamala Khan?
Yeah, the Marvel Now .1 Ms. Marvel. Yeah.
So is there any rhyme or reason?
Well, that one. Well, it speaks to this, which is, once again, if you want to collect it, just buy it, whatever, or not buy. What I'm saying? Yeah. If you're looking at it for investment, the two things that you have to have in your back pocket before you buy something, in my mind, is what is it going to sell for, and when are you going to sell it? So if you're buying it for $5, when is it going to get to $10? Is it going to get to $10? What evidence do you have that it's going to get to $10? And so the Marvel Now .1 is all their characters like that are newer characters. They're just being introduced, like Vengeance 1, which is America Chavez. She just showed up in the latest Doctor Strange movie. NYX3, who was in the last Wolverine movie with Hugh Jackman. Those secret rares were selling for $180 to $200. Okay. Ms. Marvel is the same thing, very young, just getting her own Disney Plus show. She's going to have we're going to have 10 more years of Ms. Marvel, whether you love it or you hate it. We're going to have 10 more years of Ms. Marvel. She has a new movie coming out. She had her Disney Plus show. She has a new movie coming out next year. She's going to be on the Avengers team. So whether you love her or hate her, this is what's going to go down with Ms. Marvel, okay? And when they came out, they were selling for 90 gems. And I'm like, all the other comparables sell for 180. So I think it's going to sell for 180.
Yeah, that strategy. Yeah.
And so then I just sat there, and one appeared at 90 and I hit buy, and then one here at 90 and I hit buy, and then I hit 90 and I hit buy. Now I overdid it because I ended up buying, I think and then I ended up buying some, but I have about 155 of them. So I probably got a little too crazy on that. So maybe I'll regret that.
That's a nice percentage. So have you sold any off yet, or are you slowly?
No, no.
You're waiting.
I eventually will. Because I don't need 155.
That's crazy.
Marvel Secret Rares.
It's a wild story, but I like your reasoning behind that for sure.
So now everybody's like, oh, you're a genius. You know now, because the floor at them is around 300 now. And sometimes it drops at 250 to 300. Okay, so good profit. But what am I going to do? Put them all out there? It's going to dump the market, and there's not enough buyers right now to buy it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of stuck with it, but this is the way of other stocks too. Like if Jeff Bezos can't just dump Amazon stock, right? It's gonna cause problems. Yeah. So I'm not saying I'm Jeff Bezos, but you know what I mean? But there's different strategies that I will have to employ. Yeah. Probably just sell one a month, right?
Yeah. So you got a couple of different things going on. If you notice something in the marketplace, you'll go for that.
So that's the game. I always say to people, they're like, is this a good deal? And I ask them, I say, I don't know. When are you going to sell it? Well, I don't know. What is the price you're going to sell it for? Well, I don't know. Well, let's figure out that. And then you'll be able to tell me whether or not you think it's a good deal.
Yeah. Have that plan ahead of time. I like that. So is there anything that hasn't come comic wise onto the app? You mentioned earlier, I guess, first appearance of was it Hulk or not Hulk? Wolverine, or I remember Wolverine. So is there anything else that you're looking forward to? Like, I mean, I know we got Amazing Fantasy 15 that you have it right behind you there. Anything else that maybe is top notch for you? Is it those
from a comic or collectible or both?
Comic or whatever, either way.
I mean, comics, the big one would be it's Hulk 181.
Yeah.
I got some comics out here. I got it right here. So this is the first appearance of Wolverine, Hulk 181. So
it's a nice cover.
Yeah, you can see him in his yellow.
Yeah.
So that comic, when it comes to the app, it won't be as big. Nothing can be as big as Amazing Fantasy 15. That's just a bonkers.
Yeah.
But if they come out with that comic and it's 10,000 like AF15, my guess, once again, I could be wrong, it would be maybe 50 to maybe 75% the price of AF15. So we have $500 AF15 commons. That one could be $350. I'm making that up. Okay.
That makes sense.
But so that's a big comic. That's because everybody loves Wolverine. They know the significance of him. He's going to come back to the MCU eventually. And it's just too big a character. It's a Spider-Man character that no matter what will probably stand the test of time and be around for a long time.
Yeah.
I also think if they come out with a Wolverine collectible, I did a kind of like poll, not necessarily a poll thing, but like tell me a collectible you really, really want on my Twitter.
Yeah.
And that Wolverine was the one that got the most votes or whatever.
That's good.
So I think Wolverine would be a fun one too.
Nice. And you think if DC comes out, I guess any Detective Comics or Action Comics,
if we were to get DC, it would be game over.
Yeah. Because then you get both sides.
It would just add to that narrative that A, this is here to stay, and B, Veve is now. Because there's always this kind of question like, do you think maybe Veve's not the top guy? Maybe it's another one. You know what I mean? But if Veve were to have both DC and Marvel, I think it's over. I also do. There are other major publishers like Image, Boom Studio, other ones that if we were to even get some of these other ones, would help establish Veve as the premier. They've said that they have other publishers that they're other comic book publishers that you're dealing with. Marvel may not even allow them to do. There's some weird, but
yeah, it's true. You don't know their terms and conditions. I mean, you mentioned some other, I guess, distributors or whatever they call them, IP. that would be, I guess, like you said, it would make the marketplace appear as if they're the #1 place to go to get these types of things. And you kind of hinted at it earlier, where you talked about how if real life comic book collectors would come into the app. And I've always been of the opinion, and I saw Randy when he went to Comic-Con, I saw the reception that he got from some of these comic book stands, and they were not having any of it. And I get it, because they've put in all this money to build this collection, and they might have some of the scarcest comics on the planet. And then you come here and you give kind of some more opportunity in that space that they tried to go and spend all this money into. So I can see why some of these real life comic book people would be against coming into the space. But the layer that they can come out with, like we've been talking about, how there's this another layer with utility, and we see it with the Mickey drop. If they're able to do something where you can do something with these that you can't do with your physical, like I think that's where you might start to draw some interest. And one of the things that I've always thought that could help that would be if Marvel drops exclusive books on Veve, where it's this storyline is only NFT version, or it first in NFT, like that type of thing. And maybe you open the book and you kind of see a video play in the pages. Like that's something you'll never be able to replicate in real life. I think that might be a way that you can kind of maybe pull some of these real life guys in. What do you think?
I think you have to be careful, because initially just piss them all off. They'll be like, I don't want to do this Veve thing, and now you're forcing me to go buy this app. And if I want to get the first, because for comic book collectors, physical ones, the first appearances are golden. So like, you're reading and you hear like, oh, there's going to be a new Spider-Man coming out next week. Then people rush out to the comic, and that comic will sell out, because that's what they're going for. So if Marvel were to say, we have a new version of Spider-Man coming out only in NFT form, like there'd be like a, riot. Okay. So and they know that. So they're going to have this weird, but here's an example where they've kind of threaded the needle. So there's these two characters. Oh gosh. Okay. I just had names. These two characters. Oh my gosh. It's this little, okay. They're Korean characters. They were introduced in this game called Marvel Fantastic Fight. It's a very popular mobile game. It's like one of those games where you don't fight each other.
Yeah.
Future Fight, Marvel Future Fight. And so these two characters, Crescent and Io, the little girl and her bear, and then there's one other, I can't remember her name. They were introduced in Marvel Future, in the video game. Yes. Type in, you'll maybe just keep looking around. That's the game. That's the game. And the two characters are Crescent and Io. It's this little girl and her bear.
Okay.
So if you were to type in Future Fight and then search for Crescent and Io spelled I-O. And I'm sure you'll get some pictures. Oh, right there. You were right. Yes, click there. So you see the little girl and the bear?
Yeah.
So they were introduced in the video game. There was another character I can't think of offhand. And then they made the comics, the physical comics.
After the fact.
So that's kind of what they'd have to do. They'd have to introduce them in Veve and then make physical comics. And I don't think people were really mad. Now, these are not big characters. But here's the wacko thing. They're not big characters, but I know you're not into Marvel, but I'll tell you this. So in the comics, there's this all Asian team called the New Agents of Atlas. The leader of them, right there, you see that? That's it. Move your mouse up. Click there. Okay. This team, the New Agents of Atlas, all Asian team, and its main guy is Shang-Chi, and we've already had a Shang-Chi movie. And right in the middle of that is a guy in a suit. That's Jimmy Woo. He's kind of like the director Fury of that team. We already have him in the MCU. So we have two people from that picture already in the MCU. And people think they're going to build that team in the MCU, which means Crescent and Io, you can see the bear and the little girl there, will be in the MCU, and those comics will probably skyrocket in value. Now, I am saying that.
And these
full
came
disclosure,
out.
I have a ton of those comics. But what you're saying is accurate. They can introduce things in this digital form, create the comics, and I think they can get away. I think it'll be good. I think people would go for it.
And there's a reason the reason I bring it up is that we've done a video in the past. I don't know if you saw it or not, but we went over something that came out in 2014, way ahead of its time, and it was the Marvel AR. I don't know if you've probably heard of it.
Yep. No, I watched this video of yours. It's great.
So they had some kind of thank you. They have some kind of augmented reality game in 2014 where you aim it at a picture. I guess that would be like your comic cover or whatnot, and then like Iron Man, it looks like it's just jumping out of the phone, almost like similar to what we're used to in Veve. And this is in 2014, so obviously way ahead of its time. Didn't have the infrastructure built, didn't have blockchain stuff that people were talking about in the mainstream. I think because they've done it before, it might be something that they look at in the future when things are a little bit more acceptable. We saw it also in Disney's done something similar where they had a video game, you put down the character and then it's like a utility type thing. But I think if you're able to make these comics where it's, maybe it won't piss them off if you're making it into something that's really attractive and really something that like it tells a story. And a lot of comic book collectors, some of them don't ever open them, they're in slabs, but I think there's a lot of people that actually enjoy the stories and keeping up with things, because that comes out usually before the movies and before the TV shows, right? So
the key is the ownership. You know, the Future Fight game is cool, you can whatever, but you can't own any of those people. To own a comic before Veve, you literally had to drive to the store and buy the thing. Now it's so different. That is the leap forward. That is the technology leap that we have seen with NFTs. You can own these digital assets, and there's scarcity to it. And I have tried with some of my friends and other people to explain that, and I have done obviously a very poor job of that. But eventually people are going to get it. It's that paradigm is too, I get it. It's new. I mean, when did NFTs, we're very early, and I don't know, less than 1% of the planet knows what an NFT is or whatever is, which is probably accurate. I don't think that's wrong. I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
And so and for me, cause I'm older, but the same way with the internet, my mom, I remember when I quit my job and started my first company, which was an internet company. And she's like, that is crap. Like, I don't think I would do that. That doesn't sound too smart.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I guess, that you're obviously from the comic book world. You've been able to recognize that there might be something to this NFT space, something to Veve's digital collectibles. I mean, you haven't looked at it in that same negative light that a lot of IRL comic book collectors look at it. How do you see this playing out? This is my last question. How do you see this playing out in the long term between physical and digital? Do you think that there could potentially ever be a paradigm shift? Do you think physical will always reign supreme? Or do you think that they can find a way to have utility that is just so ridiculous that the digital becomes that go-to and physical is still there?
I don't think it's I'm going to rephrase your question.
Sure.
The physical is always going to have value. It's the originals. I think they're always going to have value. I mean, I'm biased because I have a lot of physicals, but I do. I mean, I think a real AF-15 is going to have value. It's just gonna, right?
Yep.
But these digital ones are going to have value. They're going to have value. And it's going to be different. This is one of the only thing I think of is that it's like email and texting when you're communicating with somebody. It's like people are like, oh, now there's texting, you're not going to email anymore. No, actually, you do both. You email and text them.
Yeah.
And then like my in my real job, we use Slack as well. It's another, I don't know if you've ever seen, another messaging tech. Yeah. So like we're emailing each other, we're texting each other, we're calling each other, and we're slacking each other. I mean, it's like insane, but there is kind of a lane that each one makes more sense. And then you kind of do that because it's more efficient for that thing. And so for physical collecting, it's a thing. Like a digital thing really, and they're going to have holograms and frames and other stuff, but for the most part it's tough. Like if I want a physical comic, I'm going to have to go there and buy it and put up on my wall or on eBay or whatever it is, and that's cool. But this whole digital world, which is just exploding now, well, it's been exploding for the last 20 years because of the internet. And now with Web3 and the metaverse and all this other nonsense, whether or not you believe it or not, it's it's going to be a thing, and these digital assets are going to have, you know, a place in them. We don't know what it's going to be, but well, you know, once again, I'm a very biased person. I have a YouTube channel on this crap, right? But I think it's going to be pretty significant.
Yeah. So no, that's cool. I mean, if anybody here is from the comic book world, maybe you found it through the title or whatnot. I think what you just mentioned there is great. It's not that this type of space is trying to take away from the physical space. It's if anything adding, and I'm telling you right now, I didn't know much about comics at all before Veve. So
yeah, I know you said in your video. Yeah.
So I don't know anything about it. I rely on people like you, on the other people in our community to learn about them, but I would have never looked into them if I hadn't been on this app collecting.
So let me ask you this: do you ever consider buying a physical comic?
Of course, yeah, no, of course. I mean, I just haven't gone out to do it yet.
But which is fine.
When I go to one of these cons,
would you ever consider buying a physical comic?
Before Veve?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even have thought about it. No, exactly. So that's what I think that the people from the physical world need to see. It's not that we don't like the physical and that we want to degrade your value. I think your value will always be there. I think it's, if anything, it might even increase because you're going to have more eyes on it. See,
that's what I think. People are like, oh no, and I'm like, okay, just take AF-15. There were, I don't know, let's just pretend there's 50,000 users in Veve. Most of them are not physical comic book people. Yeah. There is 50,000 people who did not know what AF-15 was before Veve. And some of these people are very wealthy. Yep. And we know some of the names of those guys. Yep. And you don't think that they're like, now they probably own the SR of AF-15. They probably own every version of AF-15. You know what I mean? On the app. You don't think they're like interested in getting a physical one?
Yep.
There's only 2,200, maybe 2,300 of them, and they're all in people's hands like mine. I'm not selling you mine. You better give me a bunch of money to sell mine.
Exactly.
I'm not planning on selling mine, right? But everybody has a price point. If a guy shows up and wants to give me $1 million for it, I'll probably give it to him. You know what I mean? So yeah. So I just see that there are, I don't know, I'll make it up, 200 really wealthy people on this app. I bet you they're all, you know, they're hanging out in Vegas and they can go over to one of those comic shops, buy AF-15. They probably will. And that's only going to push that price up. So you're 100% right.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a great takeaway from the video. So guys, honestly, like I think it can coexist. And I think if anything, it's going to help the physical, and the physical, as more and more physical get accustomed. And I talk about it in every video, and last video I said it, once the education is out there on this type of platform, on this type of space, and we start to see the people coming in, I think they're going to both help each other out, which is great. I mean, it's great that, and I think Marvel recognizes that, and that's why they're going all in, right? So that must be it. So, I mean, again, Sleepyn, couldn't, I told you it's going to be half an hour. We went almost an hour here. So I really appreciate you sticking with it. And guys, please go subscribe to Sleepyn Comics. It's an invaluable resource. You learn so much from him, and like you said, he's on the ball. He hasn't missed a drop yet. If you want to know about the drop before it goes up, what he thinks or how he thinks it ranks in the real world, he also tells you what's the FA. Some people don't know these things, so VeveRank.com, great resource that we use every single video that there's a comic drop. Rob is always pulling it up, and we're analyzing what you say here, not necessarily buying based off of what you say, but we have our own parameters if we like FA characters, but this is just a great guideline for you to understand the space. So no, really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much. It was great.
Yeah, so I got to give you one more thing. Standing ovation. I don't know if you ever got one of those on YouTube, but we like to do
I appreciate that. I haven't gotten one of those yet.
For our guests, and I think it's a fun time. So guys, like I said, make sure you are subscribed to Sleepyn Comics. You can also become a superstar. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit that bell notification so you'll know whenever we post again. We're hoping to have Sleepyn back on the channel when Rob's back from his honeymoon, and we can have some more conversation like this. We went an hour just talking. That's how much information you can pull from someone like that. So again, you can also join the VIP. You get first dibs on merch like our hats here. We bought a Sleepyn Comics hat, so we're waiting for that to come through. Maybe we'll wear that on one of the future videos. And guys, thank you again for joining us, sticking through it for a whole hour, and we'll see you on the next one. I love you. Bye.